Hello everyone, Mark Holthe here, back again for another live immigration Q&A. And we have some pretty phenomenal news. Those of you who tuned in on Tuesday, boom. Okay, yes, I said that the FSW draws were coming back, but I did not realize that those fine officers who were telling us that they were going to open it up in later on in the summer were actually going to release it on Wednesday. So pretty awesome. There's some pretty happy people out there. There's also a lot of people that are maybe not as happy, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But those of you who are who have been anxiously waiting for this federal skilled worker round of invitations to happen again, it's here. It happened, and I think a lot of us are breathing a sigh of relief. As many of you know, that round of invitation pulled 3,900 people out of the pool. And so that probably included many of you. So congratulations. I've got some clients that are pretty happy, that have been waiting patiently. And it's been a really interesting, well, what do you call it? It's been an interesting journey to see how Express Entry has unfolded. So welcome back. I'm Canadian immigration lawyer Mark Holthe. This is the Immigration Live Q&A right here on the Canadian Immigration Institute. Well, the Facebook page, the YouTube channel. You can watch it on Periscope, which is the Twitter feed. And I haven't heard back from LinkedIn yet if they are going to allow me to stream live to LinkedIn, but that's coming. So welcome. Let's see who's tuning in today. It's great to have everybody here with us. Let's open this up and see who we have. So we've got Paul. Welcome, Paul. Great to have you joining us. Callum, my friend, I know you are celebrating, aren't you? Absolutely, Callum is celebrating. Why? Well, he knows why, and so do I. So I look forward to connecting with you, my friend, helping you to get right back on track and moving forward with your plan of immigrating to Canada. So many people are all in that same situation where finally, and the draw, I honestly felt it was going to be above 480. So for it to drop down to 478 is pretty cool. So that's what happens when they draw 3,900, which is a very large draw. Now, I'll give some more shout outs here as people are tuning in, but you guys have to understand that there's a reason why they're doing this. When the whole world is shutting down, as I've said repeatedly, our Canadian Immigration Department and our federal government understand the importance and value of immigrants. And so while the other countries are all shutting down, Canada, notwithstanding what we have still in place, these travel restrictions, Canada is still moving forward with our plans to bring people to Canada. And yes, there are labor shortages. Yes, there are challenges in I shouldn't say labor shortages. There's a higher unemployment rate because of COVID-19. But we're going to get past this. And as we get past this, all of these immigrants that are coming in are going to strengthen and enhance our country. They're going to bring all that is good, their skills, their education. You guys are going to bring all of that to us. And that's why I'm so excited about this recent round of invitation, and I know you guys are too. So especially Callum here. Ralph, big shout out to my good friend Ralph. Good to have you. And I know there's lots of celebration here. So Jode is congratulations. And then Kulratan asks a good question. Is there going to be another CEC draw? Well, we don't know. We know that today there hasn't been one. And within the CEC, I'm going to say that it's probably going to be more unlikely, and that now they're going to go back to a more regular draws of federal skilled worker, because I think their goal is, initially was to keep the people in Canada that rank high, to give them opportunities. And many people who didn't have an opportunity previously received ITAs on their CEC applications when their scores were low. And we saw how low they dipped. What was it, 431, 432 that it dipped down to? A level that I never dreamed it would dip to for CECs. So many people were able to benefit from that, but Canada still values you guys that are outside of the country, or as I have a client right now who received an ITA that is in Canada and was drawn under the Federal Skilled Worker Program. So, all right. Okay. Amrit Paul says, hi, Mark, you're always the bearer of good news. We've got a yay there. We've got Saki from India. Welcome. Okay, and then we've got Abdur who says, glad to see you again. And Abdur is disappointed with the recent draw for obvious reasons, because the CRS, I think Abdur, just his totals are lower, and I feel for you, my friend. Okay, Sabi, welcome from Pakistan. Great to have you. We've got Ben over here in Istanbul. His score is 470, so he says, I really hope it will lower down before my birthday next September. Well, Ben, yeah, we're hoping that it's going to drop down. Right now, 478 is where it is, but we'll keep our fingers crossed, and I know September's coming pretty quick. Okay, Martin in Hong Kong, great. We've got just a bunch of people. Sanjay, and then Callum says, waiting to book another consult to go over a few things with you. Yes, I know you've got an ITA. That is so awesome. I look forward to connecting with you and helping you, my friend. Okay, Deepak says hello. Sabi likes the videos. We've got a really good group of people here, and I want to take some time to give a shout out. Wow, there are so many comments. We've got someone from India. We've got a really, really good cohort of Indian representation today. Namaste to you, Vanil. Wow, yeah, we've got a great group of people here. If you have questions, I want you to hold off just for a second, and we will definitely get to those in just a little bit. But I want to take just a couple minutes just to talk to people about Express Entry and where it's going. A lot of people have already asking these questions, and I can see that as we're trying to make sense of this, it's not always easy to understand, especially when you're trying to plan your life around these draws, right? So we'll just zip through here a little bit more, and I think, yeah, so we'll stop there. We've got good Philippine representation here. Welcome, Mara. Good to have you here. Okay. Okay, so let's flip. I'm going to flip my screen over, and I want to talk to you guys a little bit about something here. So we're going to start right here. So many people ask, they say, okay, what is the government doing? Canadians are probably asking, and those that are watching this video are probably asking, well, why are we still opening the doors to foreign workers? Well, people with skilled work experience to come into Canada as permanent residents when we have so many of our own people that are out of work. Well, understand, immigration levels planning is a long-term game. So when they're doing planning for how many immigrants they want to come into Canada in each year or in each series of 3 years, however the levels planning has been set up. And we know that in the last levels planning, they're looking at bringing in up to or even over 1 million new immigrants in that period of time. That's the levels planning. So when they have these levels planning, it's there for a reason, because the government has done their analytics. They've done all of their actuarial tables to determine how many new foreign workers we need to bring into our economy to make sure that those that are retiring and those that are leaving the labor force are going to, that we have the workers to keep our economy moving. And remember, we are, in many respects, more of a socialist country than, say, the United States. And so all of the benefits that we enjoy, and I encourage you guys to go back and go to the YouTube channel, and let's see if I can find the YouTube channel here. Go back, and I don't know if you've watched it, but watch my top 10 reasons why Canada is awesome for immigrants. So I'll flip back here, I'll go back to my channel, and then you'll see right here, yeah, wow, back to normal. And I'm not also gonna say, I did tell you guys on Tuesday that it was gonna happen, and it did, just a lot sooner than I thought. But go back and watch this one right here, which is my top 10 reasons to immigrate to Canada. And one of the things that you'll see here is that we have just an unbelievable education system, a healthcare system. If you go to our cities and towns, our roads are taken care of. The infrastructure is all there to help everybody benefit equally. Now, what does that mean? Well, it means that my taxes personally are a little bit higher than maybe in the United States. So the people in the United States may be keeping more in their pocket. But for us, we believe collectively that everybody should redistribute some of our excess or our wealth so that everybody can benefit equally. And I subscribe to that. You know, as a lawyer, I could say, oh, I want to keep more of my taxes in my own pocket. But the reality is I value the community, the whole over the individual. And not that I don't want to set myself up and do the best I can for myself and my family. Absolutely, I do. But I also understand that my taxes are going to help educate all Canadians. My taxes are going to help make sure that good, reliable healthcare is available to all Canadian citizens and permanent residents. You guys, really. And so that comes at a cost. And if all of our if all of our workforce is aging, which it is, on the back end, those people are going to be retiring. And if we don't have people to fill those ranks and to sustain our workforce, then it's going to cause large problems for our country. And that's the position that we've taken. And so when I think about everybody who is, who's wondering why we're still taking immigrants in this whole world of pandemic, well, that's why. It's a long-term game. And they're not just going to alter things drastically because we have this temporary thing that we're going through. So that's the first thing I want to point out. Now, let's take a look at this. So just yesterday, July the 8th, we had a round of invitations of 3,900 people. And that round of invitations is really quite high. But you'll see here, 478 was the total. I think if they had taken maybe 3,000 only, then it's possible it would have been around 480, which is what I had originally projected. But hey, 478, that's great. The tiebreaker of February 11th means that anyone who submitted their profile after February the 11th at 3:17 Universal Time, they didn't get an invitation to apply. And I have a client who has a brother in Canada, and she received an ITA, and we're just waiting. Her brother, he is trapped outside in India waiting to come back. And so he's been trying to come back. He just went back for a holiday, and we're patiently waiting for him to be able to return to Canada. He has his lease agreement. He has all of his things in Canada, but he's just stuck outside because of the inability to obtain flights from India. And so we have 90 days for him to come back. But if we were to go forward and he wasn't in Canada, and that client of mine lost those 15 points for a sibling in Canada, then she actually submitted her profile in March of this year. So if we weren't able to claim those 15 points for her brother, she would actually, the government, IRCC, the officers would reassess her eligibility, and they would drop those 15 points off and say, well, then your application is going to get returned because you no longer meet the 478 pass mark, which is based on the tiebreaker. So one tip for you guys, if you have a choice, try to get your profile in as soon as possible. Even if your scores are low, you don't necessarily need to wait, because for everybody at 478, understand there were only a few that were actually drawn at 478. There were a lot that were not, because they submitted their applications after February the 11th. Does that make sense? So my advice to my clients now is that you do submit your profiles and get them in, because based on the tiebreaker, if it falls right on your CRS score, if that's what the round of invitations is, then there's a very, very good chance that you may, it's going to come down to this tiebreaker. And if you didn't submit until later, you could be the one that misses out. All right. So there's a little bit of a tip. Now going forward, we've had questions that people are asking as well about the Canadian Experience class. We've had lots of rounds of invitations, and if we go back, for those of you who are just getting accustomed to what's happening here, you can see on June the 25th was our last draw, and they extended it to 3,500 people, and it dipped down all the way to 431. Why? Because it was a Canadian Experience class only draw. And if we go back here to the draw that happened today, this one, or I should say yesterday, was no program specific. What that means is, as you can see here, they took candidates from the Federal Skilled, the Federal Skilled Trade, the Canadian Experience class, and the PNPs who were eligible. So when you go down here and you look at these, you can see data is for July the 6th, 2020. This draw happened July the 8th. So this 3,900 people are actually comprised of those that are in here, okay? And if you actually want to look at it, it's going to include those right here, this 900 plus at the top. I guess it's 1,000 here that are 500 and above. And it also will include from 400, here's 480. So these ones and a portion of these ones right here. And so that's where they're being pulled from. So, when you're looking at the volumes of applicants, it depends on how fast the pool is being filled up as to where the scores are going to land. And I want to point something out to you guys now. One of the things that's limited a lot of people, especially when it comes to being able to come to Canada and having applications that are in the pool, or even permanent resident applications where you're seeking to come to Canada, biometrics is a critical part of that. And what's halted many of our overseas applications is that people can't obtain biometrics. So these biometrics are typically done in visa application centers. So these VACs. And this website right here is where you can go to see if the visa application center is open near you. And I'd encourage you to go take a look at this. If you go and you Google find a visa application center, that should probably get you right here. It's not always easy for me to share this, but you can see this is the list of all of the places that are open. So open with limited services, Ghana. You can search through all of these, and you can see China open with limited services, and that's generally, it's either closed or open with limited services. But that hopefully can help some of you to know where things are at and how fast immigration is going to start processing in your area. Largely the VACs are open because those countries have got a control over the coronavirus, and now people are able to go back to work because these VACs, they require people to be in close proximity. All right, so hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. And then the last couple things, actually, do you know what? Let's go back and let's start answering some questions, because those of you who have tuned in, you'll know that the hallmark of this particular live Q&A is the Q&A portion. And those who are watching, and we've got a pretty okay group of people that are tuned in today, but those that are watching live, I really want to make sure that you have an opportunity to get your questions answered. Okay, so let's go through here and see what we have. Nahal, I'll just post yours because it kind of makes me chuckle a little bit. No, we probably can't send an email to them to do another CEC draw, as it makes more sense. The reality is they have very, very clear analytical data and actuarial data that tells them how many immigrants that they need to bring in each year and where they're going to come from. And so, yeah, probably sending them an email saying, please do a CEC draw is probably not going to be the most effective use of time. Okay. Okay, here's a good question from Gurleen. So basically, hey, Mark, my question is, because of a technical glitch, my CRS, which was supposed to get updated on July 31st, got updated now. In case anyone gets the ITA before experience is completed, should they accept the ITA? Gurleen, this right here, I'm just gonna ring this, because this question is very multifaceted, and it is most definitely something that I would classify as a legal question that needs specific advice. Why? Because there are a whole bunch of reasons that you have to look at in determining whether or not to decline an ITA or whether or not to proceed. If I feel, generally speaking, that my client has a good chance of getting another ITA, in that circumstance where you're given more points, probably because of work history and the rounding up of months, in other words, they calculate based on months. So if you have started your work on July the 31st, they will give you credit for the whole month of July as work history, and your CRS score will be calculated accordingly. So, but the reality is, Gurleen, you'd really need to book a paid consult so that we can look exactly at your situation to make that decision. Because I personally never want to give up an opportunity that I have, in other words, decline an ITA, unless I know that I'm going to get another one. And sometimes you then have to make legal arguments and make the pitch as to why immigration should allow your application to go forward, because like you said, it's not a glitch, it's how they set it up, but you're the beneficiary of the way they set it up. And so you need to make an argument if you are not in a position that you can decline that ITA to continue going forward. And for many people that received an ITA under the CEC categories, where the scores, as you could see, were dipped down to 431 recently, it may never get back down to that period again. And so giving up something and not knowing if you're going to get another one, that's something that has to be examined carefully. Good question. Okay, we've got Olu here from Paris. Good to see you here. Okay, let's see. This person says, I received pre-arrival services letter. Awesome. 2 months ago, immigration process bar is at 85%. Do you think we will be able to receive COPR soon? I think we're getting closer, my friend. I think we are. But understand, as long as the travel restrictions are still in place, and as long as the visa offices overseas are operating on more of a skeleton crew, understand that that is going to prevent them from continuing to process applications at the rate they did previously. So I think we still have some time. We do. It's not going to happen quickly. And understand that progress bar that you have is meaningless. It means absolutely nothing. If you look at it, the bar is set to move, just like regular time moves. It's set for 6 months. And as 1 month passes, well, you're 1/6 of the way there. As you hit 3 months, you're 50% done, and so the bar isn't actually reflective of where your application is at in real time. Maybe one day with the new system that they've submitted a request for proposals, maybe then they'll change it. Okay. Shamal, can't answer that one. I don't know if they're going to do another CEC. It sure would be great. Okay. This is really cool. I'm going to give you a shout out, Fayaz, because he says, I was expecting a CEC draw, but I'm happy for those people who got an ITA. Good for you. That's what this is all about. Sometimes it tends to be so much every man for himself, every person looking out for their own interests. And that is not the kind of future that I want to see for our country. And so I hope, Fayaz, I hope that you do get your CEC, because that kind of an attitude is exactly who I want as a fellow Canadian citizen. Good for you. Okay, FSW program draw. I would not be surprised if we do see an FST, a Federal Skilled Trade Program. It would not surprise me for us to see one of those draws here this summer. It wouldn't at all. Okay. Okay, Sarfaraz says, UK citizen waiting for an intercompany transfer. When will the POE application for work permit be open? Like it is with Canada-US border. We know that the travel restrictions are in place until the end of July, and then we'll see what happens. But Sarfaraz, I think it's going to be some time before the border allows at the airports port of entry applications. They want to be able to control as much as possible. And let's face it, the relationship we have with the U.S., we rely heavily on the U.S. for our food supply chain and for just trade back and forth. They're our biggest trade partner. So because of that, Canada's stance with the US, which we all know they're doing a horrible job of managing the coronavirus right now. And it does give me some pause as well with them being our neighbor to the south. We're doing everything that we can to sacrifice so that we can keep our country safe from the virus and keep it under control. But yeah, when it comes to the POE, the standard, there is a little bit of a double standard with the US there. But it's because of our relationship with them. And they're an important trading partner for us, and they're like a brother to us. So for you guys that are outside waiting, I'm assuming that Sarfaraz, you probably have an application that's pending. Well, look for the VAX, see where you're at, and hopefully in a little bit of time they will start to issue those work permits. Okay, let's see here. Let's see here. So I'm just looking here. It looks like, yeah, Igor just posted here, and I'm going to post to everybody else. I was wondering why we didn't have as many people today. Our stream on Facebook was blocked by UMG. Please connect with us on YouTube while we are trying to resolve the issue. So that's Igor. So please, yeah, so go over to YouTube. And once again, if Facebook doesn't like us to post there, then I guess we'll say, see you later, Facebook. Okay. You're very welcome, Gerline. You're very welcome. Okay. Okay. And then you can see Igor is posting it here. So for whatever reason, the stream was blocked on Facebook. You got to love Facebook, right? Although it looks like we do have someone here, Facebook, that was posting. So maybe it's come alive again. Anyways, yeah, and you're right. It says they're making it difficult for 7 to 10 plus years of experienced folks to get through the cutoff. Until this is changed, it's going to be the end of a Canadian dream for such people because they're above 30. You are right. When it comes to having no contact with Canada, no connection with Canada, the federal skilled worker has become really a young person's application. And once you hit 30 points or 30 years old, you then lose 5 points for age. And so the ideal candidate that is getting through now is someone that is really 29, has a master's degree, has CLB9, and at least 3 years of skilled work experience. That's really where we're at. And even with the 478 draw, you guys can understand that 478 is still even higher than probably those candidates. They would probably need a sibling in Canada, or need to have even higher education, maybe a PhD, or maybe they would also need to have language scores that are maxed right out. So yes, you're right. It is not easy. Okay. Natika says here, thanks for your updates. It's very useful. The FSW score came as, will it come? Is it going to come as low as 460? I really don't think it will. When we look at the volumes of people that are actually in the pool right now, and if we flip over here and go back to our express entry rounds of invitations here, the numbers that are in the pool in that range at 460, you can see here, if we go 460 to 470, this range, like we have over 7,000 right there up to 470. And it's going to be really difficult because the moment we do a draw, then more and more people fill into these ranks. Now it's the elite process, but those who are looking to immigrate to Canada, this is now that new target market right in that range. So low 460s is quite unlikely. Okay. All right, I'm going to skip through a little bit because I want everybody to have a chance, regardless if you came in sooner or later. Lots of people are asking about, is there any chance for 465? Is there any chance for 471? The reality is, when it comes to the federal skilled worker, I would say anything above a 470, you've got a much greater chance than anything in the 460 or below range. Okay, let's see what else we have here. Pankaj says, hey, thanks for the great consult last Monday. You're very welcome. I really enjoyed it. It was awesome. Guys, that's what I love doing more than anything else. I love meeting with you guys. I love learning about you, your history, your background, your desires to come to Canada. Not just how to solve the legal issue, but I love just basically making friends all over the world. And those of you who do want to book a consult like Pankaj, all you need to do is just go to our website, which is here, which we post all the time. All you have to do is click on the Start Here button. And to get here, it's just holthylaw.com. And then you can book a consult as well. And you can see the prices right here, $210 Canadian for a 25-minute consult. And that includes the tax. So there you go. All right, moving on back to the questions here. Okay, yes, we've got Ryan who's stuck in the US. He says, any idea when they will start issuing PPR for Outland applicants? So stuck in the US with work visa. Yes, I understand that. And especially in light of everything that's happened in the US, when you have a country that is really clamping down and closing off the work permit options, for new people coming in, the climate just doesn't create a lot of hope for the future, does it? So I know, Ryan, that you're anxiously waiting for your opportunity to come to Canada, and they are starting to move forward with this. They are. And especially you guys in the US, I would have to assume that those would be more of a priority, because once you can establish, you've got your passport request, then the same restrictions that are restricting people outside of Canada or outside of the US from coming don't necessarily apply when you're in the US. So we'll just have to see. But yeah, I feel for you. I know how unsettling it can be to just not know what your future is going to hold. And so I can appreciate that. Okay. Okay, so this person's talking generally. What does a submission mean actually if we submitted and edited later and submitted again? I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. This is another example of kind of a general question where I'm not sure if you're talking about express entry or if you're talking about a profile, profiles can be updated within Express Entry, no issues. If you submitted an EAPR and then you recognize you made a mistake, well, then take immediate action to submit one of the IRCC web forms to notify them about whatever change or mistake you made. Okay. Okay, Deidre says, hey, can you explain what factors cause an EAPR application to be refused? Guys, this is an opportunity for me to point you right back here. And I keep saying this, and Igor, you have to remind me. We are going to go in here into my Express Entry complete step-by-step do-it-yourself course. And I'm going to share my screen here. We'll just close out Deidre here, and I'll share my screen with you guys. In my Canadian Immigration Institute website right here is the course. And I know that some people are like, Mark, stop talking about the course. Well, the people that are joining, I'm getting new people all the time who just don't know about it. And I don't really market it in any other place other than here. But this is so much more than just me marketing a course to earn money for me. In here is all of my knowledge, tips, strategies about Express Entry, like virtually all of it. When it comes to specific advice, yes, there's specific circumstances of each individual person that are obviously not able to be captured in here. But within here, in my DIY guide, right at the beginning, learning the basics. If you click on here at the beginning, you'll see, welcome to the Express Entry. What is Express Entry? How the comprehensive ranking system works. That's module 1. Module 2 is really what you're looking for when you're preparing to submit your Express Entry. So, top 5 things to do before you submit your Express Entry profile. Registering your account, are you eligible? And then these are just general stuff to help you guys understand where you stand. And then you go to member resources, and in this section, this is where you'll see things, okay? Top 5 reasons right here. Number 5, you're deemed ineligible by Express Entry. Top 5 reasons your Express Entry application is refused. So all of this is available all within this course that I poured my heart and soul into. And as I tell you guys all the time, if you go into here, and I'm going to go back to, let's see if we can pull it up again. I'm going to go back out. If you go in here and if you go to my courses and you click on Purchase Now, and those of you who are watching this, type in the code EEDIY50, you will get $248.50 off. So the price will be $248.50 for that lifetime access. All right, that one-time payment. Okay, we will leave it at that. Let's jump back to more questions. So ultimately answering your question here, Deidre, I'd say probably the ones that I see the most are just simple little mistakes within the documents. So one classic one is care has not been taken to make sure that your reference letter is correct. And so a miracle happened, and I really want to call it a miracle. I recently had a client who approached me. They had used a consultant who had helped them to file their application. And now's probably as good a time as any, given the fact I'm going to be talking with the head of CAPIC here in just a little bit. I just want to point out that there are indeed some really good immigration consultants out there. I know, because they worked in my office. They came through, my office, and are now practicing in other firms. They're practicing on their own. Some are in universities, but there are some really, really good immigration consultants out there. And I don't mean to lambaste everybody or plaster everybody or paint everybody with the same brush, but 30 to 35% of the consults that I do every single day, you guys, are people that have gone, they've used a consultant that did not know what they were doing, and we're talking regulated consultants. I'm not talking about ghost consultants who have given them bad information or actually counseled them to not disclose something on an application and had their application refused and their lives destroyed. The other portion of that 30 to 35% are people that contact me for a second opinion. They're still using a consultant, but they just don't trust the answers that they're getting. Why? Because they're watching these videos, actually. And so those are 30 to 35% of my consults are people that have already retained a consultant to help them. I'll be honest, I've never had a person come to me who has already gone to a lawyer, an immigration lawyer, and then sought a second opinion from me. I've never had that happen. But I do want to qualify and acknowledge that there are some good consultants out there, but they are a definite minority. And I'll just leave it at that. So my client got the application refused. And so they came over to me. We moved the refused application from the consultant over to their own MyCIC. And then I went through everything forensically. Eventually, the consultant gave the information from the portal, the documents that were submitted. I was able to go through it and realize that they really had done nothing to review the letters that were going in from the employer to make sure that they weren't missing things. And of course they were. And but there was enough for me to argue for reconsideration. So this is the first time in the entire inception of Express Entry that I've had immigration willing to reopen an Express Entry application. And I'm so grateful to them because they were willing to do this, because this person who had spent their whole life planning on coming to Canada was here, had come on an LMIA-based work permit. All of this was going to fall apart all because of a simple mistake. And you know, I don't know if it was just an inattention or whether this consultant just didn't feel their role was there to actually review reference letters, which is shocking. Then what purpose are you serving for that person? If you're just collecting the documents and not giving advice or direction on choosing the right knock, then why are you even representing people? If your representative, consultant, or lawyer is not doing that, then fire them immediately, because there should be no reason whatsoever to hire someone if they're not going to help you with your documents. So anyways, long story short, I got a notification back that IRCC was opening it up. They were reconsidering it, which basically means that they were going to allow it to go forward after it was refused. And I have not had many of these personally to request reconsideration, but this is the first one that's come over, and I'll tell you, there is much celebration in the land. So big shout out to IRCC. Thank you for having a heart and being willing to consider whether or not a refusal was wrong, a mistake. Okay, there we go. Way more, than Deidre probably wanted to know. This is what happens. I just get talking, and you know, this isn't planned, guys. This is spontaneous. Okay, let's jump down a little bit farther here, and let's see if we can get to some other ones that people are asking. Yeah, I see a ton. There's some Facebook here. Okay, can we apply OINP skilled trades on study permit? This one is another classic example of this. So in this case, this is definitely legal advice. You guys need to know, I need to know a whole lot more facts in order to be able to let you know if there's an option or if there isn't. And for me to just say yes or no would be reckless. And I guess it probably makes sense for me to just click on this one here and let it scroll as well. Let's see if I can do this. I better unlock that, and then I'll click on this one here. And just remind you guys that this is all about providing information. It's super important for me to help you guys know where to go, where to find the information, and where to educate yourself so that you're in the best position possible to decide if you can do it on your own or whether you need just a little bit of help. Now, over the last year, probably, I've seen the disasters of people not getting assistance, thinking they have everything figured out, relying on, well, basically advice from people online. How ironic that I'm giving it here. But I do hope that my position as an immigration lawyer puts me in a little bit more standing than just someone who's gone and done their application themselves. But there's real pitfalls with that, especially all of you who've received ITAs under the CEC programs. They may not ever come back to these levels again. This may be your only chance. And personally, I think it's super reckless to file your application on your own without getting some direction or someone to help review it, to get a second pair of eyes on it, because little things can be missed and it can make the difference in you immigrating to Canada or not. All right, moving on. Let's move on here. So there you can see, disclaimer, if it's legal advice, I'm going to ring the bell. And then I'm going to direct you guys to go right over to right here and book a consult on their firm, and I can help to answer all those questions. The reason the consult is so important is because I can get the facts. I can get all of the information and then formulate an opinion that is accurate and reliable. I would feel awful if someone relied on some advice that I gave them when I didn't have all the facts, and then they did something wrong. So there's a reason not many lawyers do what I do, because there is always this concern that someone's going to rely on the information that's being provided to their detriment. And but I take the position that, you know what, I would rather err in helping people than not do something out of fear that there's some potential future risk that I might say something or do something. So I'm very, very careful. I'm very cautious with what I do and how I answer questions, but understand I'm not trying to ignore you if you have a specific question. That's why, that's why I do what I do. Okay, let's see here. Okay, I think it says, hey Mark, you had told in the last video that you would speak about people who are in the EE pool and trying for a student visa. Well, I think I've already talked about this, Vipin, but the reality is it does have an impact on your ability to get a study visa. In this case, for Canada, a study permit. You have to show that you have an intention, temporary intent, that you will abide by the temporary conditions on your study permit and that you will return home back to your home country once your study permit status is over. And for those of you who are also seeking to obtain permanent resident status, even though it's clear if you come and study, you're the best candidate for Canada to welcome to become a permanent resident because you've got Canadian education, you've got years of experience acclimatizing to our Canadian culture, this wonderful melting pot that we have here. And so you are one of the best candidates for immigration. But understand, immigration officers, when they're trying to decide, wow, we need to reduce the number of students coming in, they can use that as a factor to suggest that maybe your intention coming to Canada is not temporary. Now, if they rely solely on the fact you have an express entry profile in the pool to refuse your application, that's a reviewable error. And that's something that we could go to federal court and challenge. But it is a factor. And they can draw on anything to say, well, I just don't think you'll go home, or you don't have sufficient travel history, or whatever it might be that they rely on. Okay? Good question, Vipin. Okay. Okay, here I'll Pankaj, looks like you've got a question here as well after the consult. So you want to know if is it important to include work experience in the personal history section that was done during studying as a student in Canada? Yes, I always do, Pankaj. I had some clients that had a ton of part-time jobs that were just for short periods of time, but that's a part of your personal history. And those part-time work that you were doing while you were studying, no, it doesn't count for work history, but absolutely I include it in the personal history. That's what it asks, so that's what I do. Okay, Manasi says, what does GCMS mean? It means Global Case Management System. That's the internal immigration history that IRCC, the software program that they use to track all of the information, the historical immigration history for you individually. The Global Case Management System. That's how they process all the applications. That's how they communicate globally with each other officers. It's like this big, massive intranet. All right, good question. Okay. Okay, so Mariachi here, L says, hello, how are you doing? I'm from Morocco and got my AOR on June the 1st, 2020, but nothing afterwards, no notification since. Is it normal, please? Absolutely, totally normal. It will be a long time. Usually we get biometrics fairly quickly, biometric requests, and that's probably the one that you'd probably see next maybe. But yeah, you just submitted it. So it's going to be a while before you see a lot of things going on. Okay, let's flip down to a few more here and get to some other people that are new. Now understand, I'm not just picking one after another, because the people that are coming in late, I want you to understand that you have an equal opportunity of also getting your question answered, and I don't know how else to do it. The reality is when I was doing it first, then the people who were the fastest to click the trigger, they were getting chosen, but I need to mix it up a little bit. Okay, let's see here what we have. Okay, so Winnie says, hey Mark, when a paper-based sponsorship application gets transferred to a visa office, is it considered online application or still paper-based? It's still paper-based. And if it is transferred to a visa office, there's different stages. So the sponsorship is done in Mississauga, and then if the spouse is overseas, often it will be transferred to that overseas office for processing of the application. Not always, they can move it wherever they like, but no, it's still considered a paper-based application. Okay. Miss Hijab says, any predictions regarding the reduction in CRS score and what would be the lowest score till December? Wow. You know what? These are questions that people just love to ask. And the reality is I never dreamed that it would get down to 431 this year, but the coronavirus altered everything. And it could be that we hit another massive wave and the travel restrictions are all reinstituted and we go back to CEC draws. Who knows? If that happened, maybe it would drop down to 420 for CEC, the Canadian Experience class. But the FSWs, you guys overseas, it seems like we're consistently right around the very high 460s all the way up. And so I don't think it would drop any lower than that. Maybe a 467, possibly 468 for FSW. But at this stage, yeah, I don't see it dropping any lower than that. Interesting question. Okay, Rami, yep, 475. I think you got a chance. It might be a couple of draws, but I think you got a chance. Okay, this is a good question. This is work history. So for foreign work experience with different NOC-B and different, can you claim points for both? Okay, well, let's take a quick look at that. This is something that's worth teaching people. Many people ask this question. So if we go back here, let's go back to, actually, let's pull up. I'm going to change this page to FSW eligibility. I think this, did that work? Oh, I got ahead of myself here. Eligibility. Okay, there we go. So this here is the website that describes eligibility, and many people are confused about this. When it comes to the minimum requirements, skilled work experience is what you need. And you need to show that you have at least, right here, at least 1 year of paid skilled work experience, which means, you know, full time of 30 hours per week. Well, what that means is, in order to qualify for the Federal Skilled Worker Program, you need to have at least that. Now, we're not talking about the comprehensive ranking system. That's the whole express entry, the pool, the rounds of invitations. This is a separate eligibility that all of you with only foreign work experience looking to immigrate to Canada, you go through this program. And you'll see here, the difference is there's also a point grid for the Federal Skilled Worker Program. And I haven't talked a lot about this recently, but this 67 points out of 100 is the pass mark. And the key for you to ask yourself is, and when it comes to this assessment under the Federal Skilled Worker Program, this is where it has to all be in the same NOC. So if you go down here to the work history, you'll see that if you have 1 year of skilled work experience, you get 9 points. Well, if you only need this 9 points to reach the pass mark up here of 67 points, and so you're already at 67 points with just 1 year of skilled work experience, then you're good to go. You can include the work experience from other NOCs toward your comprehensive ranking system score to get that maximum of 3 years. Once you hit 3 years of foreign work experience for the comprehensive ranking system, you're not getting any more points. You're maxing out your skill transferability. But when it comes here to eligibility for the Federal Skilled Worker Program, this is really where it comes down to it. If you can only claim to get these points, work experience in the same NOC, that is continuous, like we talked about here, that is continuous, 1,560 hours or 30 hours per week. That's really what it comes down to. Okay, hopefully that one answered your question. Good question. Okay, right, let's see here. We'll zip through these. A lot of these are the same types of questions. And some of you are multiplying your question and duplicating it, hoping that it will be answered. I guess that's one of the faults of this system, Igor, is that people just keep posting over and over the same the same questions. Okay, let's see what we've got here. Okay, here we go. This is a good one. So Hisham says, hey, thanks for this great information. What documents are required to claim additional sibling points? Sister or brother who lives in Canada and got PR. All right, so let's go back here once again. I'm going to share my screen with you guys. We're going to go back here to my other favorite site, which is the completeness check site. And you can just go and you can search for this title right here, which is applications for permanent residence program subject to the express entry completeness check. Plus IRCC or Canada or immigration, it'll pull up this page on Google. If you go here, and I'm going to type in relative, that should take us to the spot. I was just going through this just this morning with a client. And when it comes to proof of a relative, it really comes down to sibling. And so one of the most important things when you're trying to prove it, you have to prove that the relative is a Canadian citizen. So what does that require? Or a permanent resident. So passport or PR card. Okay, you have to prove that they're actually residing in Canada. Well, what is that? If we go down here, it tells us. So you're going to include both sides of your citizenship, if you're to show that you are a Canadian citizen, or your permanent resident card, the evidence of family member residing in Canada. You can see right here, a residential lease, mortgage document, utility bills, those kinds of things are what we will typically include. Obviously, this is a key part. These utility bills must be within the last 6 months. So don't be tricked. If your application takes a long time to get the ITA and you're relying upon your brother who gave you, or your sister, a utility bill when you started the process, you might need to get that updated. Pay attention. If it doesn't, they can refuse it. All right. And then basically that you've got a birth certificate that shows both of you having the same parents, or at least one parent. Or in the case of, for example, Indian nationals, in your passport, it often lists your parents, both names in one of the back pages of your passport. That works as well. All right. Okay, good question. All right, let's keep zipping along here. We're just about out of time. It's hard to believe it's going so fast here. Okay, it's ITA time, Mark. Finally, the wait ends at last. Bhushan, that is so wonderful. I'm so happy for you. Awesome. I love hearing those success stories. That's awesome. Okay. So Nessa says PNP nomination adds 600 points to the CRS score. If the profile is FSW, is proof of funds still needed unless there's an LMIA that goes with the job offer? The LMIA supporting the job offer is the critical component to having your settlement funds waived. You're still going through the federal skilled worker program. I always take the position with my clients that unless you have, even if you're going through a PNP, unless it's an LMIA based work permit, then I don't personally consider that to be a job offer sufficient to waive the requirement for settlement funds. So in your case, Nessa, I would definitely, if you're on an open work permit, even if you're drawn through the PNP, I still will go ahead and request that you have those settlement funds. I just don't take the chance. And I think legally that's the proper interpretation. Okay. Farshad says, hey, do more videos about LOE for undergrad. Yes. I actually am very close to hiring another lawyer in Calgary. I'm really excited about her joining, and I'm going to give you, I'm going to bring her on, and we're going to have a good introduction so that you guys can all meet her. And but at this stage, yes, that's on the radar once I get more people in here helping. Okay, let's see what else we have here. Okay, let's ask this one. So Manasi says, why do they always focus on people, that are 29? They have low experience. You're right. But the reason they do that is because they have more years once they get a job in Canada of paying taxes and contributing to the economy than someone who is older. Even though you got more experience, when you come in, they find that the income levels between the two are not necessarily that significantly different. And so when someone comes in with maybe 1 or 2 years of experience, they're younger, they feel like they're going to get a job and they're going to pay taxes for maybe 30 or 40 or 50 years. Whereas someone who's already 40 or 50, maybe you only have 20 years more of paying taxes. So it's a long-term game, and that's why they've allocated points accordingly based on age. Okay. Alva says, hey, you're saying EE is back to normal. Please define normal. New normal? Well, normal means that they're doing open rounds of invitations. That's what normal is. And when did they happen? They happened on a Wednesday. And now we will see if they continue to do just PNP draws and only the opens, which has been what's happened in the past. And then twice a year, federal skilled trade draws. That's traditionally what they've done. And so we'll have to see how this plays out, but that's what normal is. Normal is not a CEC only draw. That's what is not normal, because traditionally they haven't done that very much. It's always been open draws. Okay, that's what I mean by that. You're very welcome, Saksham. I'm happy to share all the updates I can. Okay, we are just about through here. Let's see here, boy. Okay, this is a great question, Nessa. How does an immigration officer determine that validity start date of the post-grad work permit? Is it from the date it was approved? Biometrics is holding up my application. Here's how it works. So when you repeatedly, what immigration has told us, and this is where I'm trying to provide information, understand, I have not verified this for some time, But when I was at a national conference a few years back, one of the things that they emphasized was that they start counting work experience from the date your post-grad work permit was submitted. So your acknowledgement of receipt when you filed your post-grad work permit. And that's how I have treated it going forward, that day, not when the actual work permit was approved. So work from the start date of when you submitted your post-grad work permit is what they have told us. All right. Okay, all right. Igor's posting here. You can get the link to the course right here. All right, I'm going to wrap this one up. It was a good day today. We talked about a lot of really, really awesome things. I'm so happy for all of you out there who received an ITA in this last draw at 478, the 3,900 and all of you guys that happened to submit your application before, I think it was February 11th. So congratulations. As always, I do my very best to share the information I have. And, it's kind of ironic. Tuesday, I said FSW is going to happen, and then it happened actually way sooner than I thought. I truly thought we would have more CECs, and then ultimately the FSW would come later in August. But that's not how it happened. And but I share the information I know. I don't hoard it. And so come back, subscribe to, I'm going to show you guys these things. Subscribe to, follow our Twitter account. We keep this sucker updated as close as we can. Minister Mendicino just announced less than an hour ago, or I guess it's over an hour ago now because we're doing this live for so long. But he just announced that there were these changes and to how they were classifying citizenship by descent. You can go through here. We post stuff from the CBSA. We absolutely give big shout outs, massive news to the FSW draw that happened. And so we have all of that. It's all here. You can check it out. And of course, right at the top, the live feed even comes through our Twitter. But we also have an Instagram page, where we also put information out. And one of the things that was kind of tricky for us all to deal with is the AINP will be reducing the quota of applicants that they're going to nominate, and down to 4,000. And so Instagram is where we posted that. So go check those out. We'd love for you to be a part of it. Those of you on YouTube, make sure that you click on the bell and make sure that you get the notifications when we go live. And then Facebook, well, I guess we'll sort out Facebook. But those of you who are watching on YouTube, I do want to let you know about, I'm going to pull up the Facebook page. I want to remind you that we have an amazing group, the Express Entry Law private Facebook group. What is Facebook doing to me? I swear. They just changed the way everything's looking, I guess. Let me shrink this down, see if I somehow... Okay, there we go. Maybe that'll be helpful. So you'll see here we have Express Entry Law, which is our massive private group. So everybody that comes in has to be invited. You guys that in here, if you have questions, this is another great resource for people to come in and post their questions. And so you can see we're live here. We've got a bunch of stuff going on. Good old... Your video is blocked and can't be viewed in 249 locations. That's so awesome. Man, Facebook sucks. Anyways, I guess YouTube's going to be the channel of choice going forward. But anyways, this group right here, you can see we've been sitting at about 124,000 forever. So go here, you can post your question, you can get answers from other like-minded people, and it's a safe zone. It's a place where you can share information and freely with one another. All right. And last but not least, as a final wrap up, once again, all you need to do is go to the Canadian Immigration Institute, click on right here, and you can go to the immigration DIY courses right here at the top, and this will take you to access the full Express Entry complete step-by-step course to doing it yourself. And this is something that I offer for people who, for whatever reason, are not in a position to be able to hire a lawyer to help them, or a representative. And for those of you that are watching this video, the regular price is $497, but if you click on Purchase Guide and then type in that magic code that I've told you repeatedly, EEDIY50, and click Apply, you'll get 50% off that one-time access, that one-time payment. Okay? All right. Hopefully that answered a lot of questions for you guys. It was another wonderful live Q&A. We started doing these twice a week now, which is really fun. It's fun to be super responsive when things happen. But I appreciate so much all of you that are a part of this. Thank you so much. I want to wish you guys all the best as you navigate this crazy world that we call, well, Canadian immigration. Take care, everyone.